in my humble opinion. And some of you join because you want my opinion. Other people just join to yell at me in the conversation. But overall, my opinion on Traveler this was very. I was honest, and there's a lot of people. In my opinion, when you're what would you say, a whiskey reviewer, the goal is to be honest. I wasn't. What are we live? Did we go live early? I must have bumped it. Hey, Tater Dom. I don't know. Okay? Welcome to the chat. Remember, is this the actual? Oh, all right. Cheers, Tater Dom. I will get this going. I thought we were 7 minutes away, but you guys can join in, and I'll wait till 8:30 to start. I did not know that we could do this early. You can see over here we got the other parts of. I'll give you guys a little quick of the Jim Beam. You got my cabinet, you got my painting signed by Freddie and Freddie, and you got the Bourbon Festival that used to be behind there. That's got its new place. Jason Sparkman made my barrel shelf, so that's really cool. And you got the behind, and you got our cabinet, the side lighting Christmas tree. You got my favorite Packer quarterbacks, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers all signed. So that's kind of cool. But tonight is Traveler Whiskey, and it is just me. Hey, is the microphone working, Don? Dom, is the microphone working? That's just let me know. I'm gonna check it, but now I headed over here, make sure where I'm at. John, when you stopped at my house over Labor Day, I remember telling you that you telling me that you picked up Traveler over the other bottles in a blind. That was awesome. Yeah, we're gonna cover that too. It was the bottles in the blind were not. We're, we are gonna cover that. So I'm making sure my microphones. I got that microphone. I don't know why I can't just keep the microphone like from stretching and going. Yeah. All right. So let me check YouTube real quick. We still got 4 minutes before we're going to get going. I did not know you could start early. And here we go. Are we live? Yeah, it's live. So there we go. Welcome. Cheers, everyone. Let's just make sure is the mic. I did not know you could start. All right. So it is 100%. There you go. I'll do the welcome. Welcome everybody tonight. We are barrel banging Traveler whiskey from Chris Stapleton and Harlan Wheatley. And let us know where you're from. Make sure you comment and what you're sipping on tonight. There we go. I have no idea how that's going to work out. I know that this is working. I will monitor. I will be monitoring. Make sure you comment. There we go. Wow. I'm not sure. It doesn't look too bright. I look a little bit. Let's see what's happening. Let's get this baby going. I think the subject matter of Traveler. Oh, I didn't want to pause that. Okay. Play. The subject matter of okay, yeah, that's there. There's two. I should be able to see too. Yeah, I didn't know that I could get this started, but I think it starts in 3 minutes, so we're not going to start. But the subject matter uh, mattered as much for, but India is just coming online at 9 o'clock. If you look at my results, India comes online. Good evening, Randy. Thank you for joining us. We got about 2 more minutes before I'm going to start, but once we get going, I'll cover our sponsorships. I'm going to try and start to whittle this down to be the best and most efficient way. The sponsorship for the first time ever is completely full. We have not ever been completely full. We have a couple different levels of sponsorship, and it's all completely full. I know that we can't do too much more because and all you guys will be hearing is ads, and I know you all don't want to be doing that. But couple more minutes. I don't want to go early. I didn't know that you could actually start the video for YouTube early. Um, I'm wondering if that's actually uh, um, who's watching. Is Tater watching? Welcome to the reminder, Gardner. What it's like. I can't tell if this is the actual. No, I probably can. Let's see. Yes, it's the Traveler Live podcast. So it's the one. So there we go. I didn't want to do that. I wanted just to go there. And we're there. About one more minute before it goes. There we go. When you monitor for yourself, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but tonight this should be a lot of fun because I know a little bit the whole year that this was happening. I know a little bit about what was going on. So a lot of times I try to go, with the traveler, paying attention to what's been going on throughout the year, trying, and I've got a bunch of reviews, and I've got a very strong opinion on this. And, it's just like this is so cool. And the way that this works, is we're at 8:30. We can get going. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Randy's on there. John Ritz on there. Randy Ford's joined us. I know Walker's been doing some training and stuff. I'm not sure if he can join us tonight, but we're doing. And then Joe Hoskin, who's going to be doing an NDP and doing his first bottling run at Whiskey Thief on Tuesday. So that's very exciting. If Joe, you could share what that's going to be, what the name is, that's fine. Otherwise, if we're waiting, that's also let me know. But let's get this going. Let's get the podcast going. I will start off with our sponsors. Everybody, Whiskey Thief Distilling Company is our sponsor. They have a great place or two great places. One in Frankfurt, that is their main distillery there on Three Boys Farm. The name of it was Three Boys Farm, and they changed it to Whiskey Thief on our podcast, which was amazing. Walter Zausch is doing a spectacular job. When you go to that Three Boys Farm, which is about 15 minutes away from Buffalo Trace, you got to stop by. You are talking about the still is in a giant barn. They've got another barn off to the side they built as a rick house. But when you walk in there for the price of admission, you're going to see 5 barrels on one side and 5 barrels on other. It is a barrel pick every day, all day. The staff is spectacular. We started off with Hannah Malejo. I can't ever say it, but Hannah's one of the most fantastic people in the whiskey industry. She heads up now their single barrel department. But then you have Derek Spraveri, and you have also Kelly Tennille. They're master distillers. Kelly is of moonshiners. She was competed and won multiple times. And you know what they got going there is a great family atmosphere. When you go there, you're going to be on a barrel pick. People with knowledge of each and every barrel that they roll out. They finish off one, but you're going to be able to choose from 5 different barrels, and you'll be able to sample them. And if you want to, they let you thief your own bottle, label it, and walk out with your whiskey. Now, in Louisville, in the Nulu section of Louisville, they just opened their tasting room last, I believe, November. We were there during the holidays. Me and Walker had stopped by, got to see the place finally open. We previewed it in September, and it's just the same thing. a barrel pick all day, every day. It's spectacular. You gotta follow that and get there. Both locations. If you get there and you're there, make sure you say you heard about it on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, because that's very important. I'd like to let Walter and everybody know that you picked it up and got there, because seriously, a barrel pick all day, every day is phenomenal. Then we've got our newest sponsor, which is Middle West Spirits. They are out of Columbus, Ohio, in a huge expansion there. Ryan Lang is the co founder, the owner, and the CEO. What he has done, he started out with a pot still, evolved to a column still, 24/7. Got that whole going, that whole distillery in his craft distillery. He opened up the service bar, which is a full out spectacular chef prepared meals restaurant. And then he decided that, he's 24/7 on a column still wasn't enough. So he decided to build a Jim Beam size uh, distillery. We were just down there this past weekend, and what's happening there is fantastic. But their main brand, the Michelin Reserve, which is now in its 6 and 7 years, the brand is spectacular. They are in 48 states, and you gotta check them out. Oh, so you absolutely have to check out the Middle West Spirits in Columbus, Ohio. There's no doubt about it. When they open up the campus of the new distillery, it's going to have shops and restaurants, going to be spectacular. Then we have our other sponsor, which is the Spirit of French Lick there in French Lick, Indiana. Spectacular whiskey. Alan Bishop was the master distiller there, but his whiskey is still there aging, and they're presenting it on a daily basis. What he's done with the pot still can be argued that there's not too many people that are doing that. So you got to check out the Spirits of French Lick in French Lick, Indiana. Uh, Also, check if you're interested. I have our barrel picks of Lillian Sinclair and William Dalton. So if you can't get down there, talk to me about how you can get it from me. And then also, uh, Rosewood Bourbons and Ryes, our sponsor. It is the bourbon that cost Andy Dufresne in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, when that's the bourbon he was drinking the night that he was allegedly killed his wife and her lover. Uh, so you gotta check out Rosewood Bourbon and Rye. He's Jason Giles down there in Houston, Texas, is bringing Kentucky and Indiana whiskey that aged in those two states, and he drives it down 900 miles to Houston, Texas, and ages it for at least one season in that hot Texas heat, and the results are spectacular. I'm telling you about it. But if you're interested in that, you got to get a hold of Jason Giles on Facebook. You could check out the Rosewood Bourbon or Rosewood Whiskey Facebook page. Get a hold of him, and he'll tell you how to get the whiskey. Then, last but not least, the old Louisville whiskey company, Amin, down there in Louisville, with his special experience. When you go down and you meet Amin, he is got barrels from everywhere that he blends, he finishes. He's got single barrels. He's got everything down there. You got to check them out. But they sponsor the old Louisville whiskey barrel banging segment, and then also Alan Bishop, who was the distiller at the Spirit of French Lick, is now the distiller at Old Homestead Distillery at Potoka Lake, winery and brewery. They now have it all going on there. But Alan Bishop, uh, he is a sponsor himself of our podcast, and that is his podcast. If you have ghosts, you have everything, which is a spirits podcast about the spirit industry and spirits of the occult. He covers both of them at the same time. He gets stories from distillers and distilleries and rick houses, and then he also has different type of things that happen with it. There's no subject of anything that different that he won't take on. So he's done aliens, he's done conspiracies, he's done everything on it. But if you have ghosts, you have everything. Fantastic podcast. And then he also has One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute Facebook channel or YouTube channel that you got to check out as soon as possible. And Charles Gregg, uh, all I can say is that's just like rock on, man. But uh so that's what we got. We're going to get this going. Tonight's podcast is with Traveler. You're going to have a 30-second spot, and it's going to be quiet, and then once that happens, you're going to hear uh, the speaker kick in with our theme song, and I'm hoping that you will. It's got to make the little butt. We will. So I am ready to rock and roll, get this podcast started. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. We will definitely get this show on the road. Here we go. Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild to the shore, fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. And it's all sunshine, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Raising hell, making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun. All right. Welcome back to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Anyways, I don't even know where I'm going. So, anyways, welcome to the newest podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm Tiny. I'm here tonight. A lot of times you'll get CT on the screen, and you also get Super Nash. But again, this is the time of the year where I'm just going solo. Hopefully, we could bring them in. I'm trying to bring them in for a couple things, but it's just been so busy for them. But same thing with Roxy. It's just busy out their minds. But I'm here. I'll always be here. Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We love everybody that comes and is a part of it. It's so cool. Tonight we are doing Traveler whiskey. Just so you know, with that said, the theme song, which is come on, where is my brain? Kenny Fuller sings our theme song. Does a fantastic job. You just got to search it. He used to be with the Luca Mariano, all old Americana band, and so check him out. Kenny's done some great things for us, but that theme song, we get nothing but praise and we love it. So remember www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We've got Glencairns. I've got a little Glencairn over here. You can get one right off the website or contact me directly. We've got t-shirts and lots of information about the Scotchy Bourbon Boys there. Remember, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. We're trying to get back on to TikTok, but that's not happening yet. We'll see what happens when it goes. And then just know that we're also on all the major podcast formats: Apple, iHeart, Spotify. But no matter how you listen, how you watch, make sure you like, listen, comment, subscribe, and leave good feedback. Just not flowing tonight. I've had nothing tonight, just so y'all know. Haven't had a sip. That's probably why I'm just, for whatever reasons, here by myself again. Sometimes I'll have these little moments or whatever, but know that we are on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and monitoring both. We got Andrew7. He's been asking me about some McCullen. I've had some, and then also he's like, take a shot. It's probably what's going to have to happen. But I will tell you that probably we're going to be doing some scotch with Johnny Walker. I've got a decent amount of Johnny Walker, so we'll probably be doing a Johnny Walker podcast. Haven't done that in a couple years, so covering some scotch. We always like to cover Irish whiskey in March, around St. Patrick's Day, and then also we cover Japanese. That's going to be coming up. There's a lot of different type things that we're going to be covering. A lot of new releases this year. Some of the same ones in their different batches. Doing some comparison, because now we're getting into this like 4 or 5 years, and I've got batches of everything 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd like to compare batches of now to 4 or 5 years ago, because bourbon and scotch, they evolve. So that's a lot of things that happen and everything. But tonight we are covering we're revisiting the Traveler whiskey blend. And just know that when this came out, this is a collaboration between Chris Stapleton and Harlen Wheatley from Buffalo Trace. And it's not a transparent whiskey, it's a blend. And nobody knows what's in it. I will tell you, I've read reviews after reviews. I've talked to the people at Buffalo Trace. Every time you go down there, they're sampling Traveler. They push Traveler hard. Now, I will tell you, the thing about Traveler, Swale Salute 21. My favorite scotch is a barrel-aged scotch by master brewer Gonzo. Oh my God. Anyways, I'm not even going to say that. I understand what he's saying, but Traveler, when it came out initially, we're just going to talk about this last year. We're going to give you a little history. There was Buffalo Trace had never put anything out like it. One, Buffalo Trace isn't transparent in anything they do as far as how they do it, what they tell you what the number mash billet is, and they tell you if it's a wheat or a high rye or whatever, but they're not giving you numbers. They won't. Now, if you look online, there's people who have worked there that those numbers are the numbers. But realistically, when it comes to Buffalo Trace, I don't care. They ultimately are similar to Michter's, which doesn't give out numbers either. Now, at Michter's, those numbers aren't even there's not even, somebody prior workers or whatever putting those numbers out. But I find that what's in the bottle always matters. Now, Buffalo Trace is a distillery that is owned by Sazerac, a family-owned company, and it's based in a marketing I won't say a ploy because, in my opinion, they're making what they can make, but what they can make is not enough. Now, they have lots of different stills that go there. They have their main still that they just put in another twin still right next to it. So production has what they say is doubled. And then they built all different rick houses and everything like that. So Buffalo Trace, when you go there, is phenomenal. It is a historic, it's on historic land, the Buffalo crossing of the river that it sits on right there in Frankfort, Kentucky. And I believe it's not the Ohio, I think it's the Kentucky River that it's on. And realistically, the grounds are gorgeous. The buildings are historical. They've been there for a long, long time. E.H. Taylor was in charge of, running that distillery and doing things. They found historical things, and just like they had to do a dig because they had cemented over all of E.H. Taylor's original fermenting tubs and where his cooker was and everything, and they were able to find it and restore it. They had it was a historical dig, and now they're actually fermenting in those tanks the same way that E.H. Taylor did. So there's a lot of history and historical things, plus then their modernization of everything they've done and all their different classic brands that they do there. Uh, People want, and the Kentucky River. Thank you, Rick is right. Yeah, H&H, I mean, there's so many different brands, but they can't even keep H&H on the freaking, shelf full time. It's because the demand for their product is so much that we're always not being able to have it whenever we want it. Now, it's Sazerac. They own Canadian whiskeys, companies. They own multiple different distilleries and different brands. They own a distillery in Virginia. It's all over. They're well known in New Orleans, Sazerac House. I mean, but Harlan Wheatley is their master distiller, and the only other name, you have E.H. Taylor, you have Elmer T. Lee, you've got George T. Stagg, all their other distillers with major brands there, and Albert Blanton. So you got Blanton, George. It's just like, but now we've got Harlan Wheatley and his brand. Up until this point of Traveler last year, his brand was Wheatley Vodka. Now, I'm not a fan of vodka, and I'm not a fan of clear spirits. I don't care how many times you distill it. I'm not in. It's just that simple. It's not that it's good or bad. It's just like I'm a fan of whiskey. Sazerac makes whiskey and rye. Uh, I'm not actually, honestly, to be honest, I'm not a fan of Sazerac rye either. I have some. It's okay, but I'm not a fan of rye. And that's okay because that's one thing that I always want to say. And we push here, just because I don't like something doesn't mean you're not going to like it. It means that I don't like it. Maybe you should try it before you buy it. That's all I'm ever saying. If you have an alignment with what I think in my palate, that's very important. But just the Scotchy Bourbon Boys and my wife, we differ in a lot of things. But usually, what I always want to do is come up with good whiskeys. Now, last year, we were always taste and color of the whiskey during the distilling process. I had a dumb question. Do hand oils affect the taste? And no, they don't at all. When you're distilling, if you know anything about it, you're evaporating off the alcohol, and alcohol evaporates and boils before water. So you're separating the water, which stays in the still, and you evaporate off the alcohol, which then you recondense through the condenser back into another tub that you do the process again, which is usually called the doubler or the thumper or whatnot. So no, the oils don't affect it at all. And getting back to Traveler, when it came out, and the first thing everybody noticed is it was now when it first was released, it was released not people thought this was going to be another new product from Buffalo Trace that you can't get. And at first, the first bottles that came out, this is and still is to this day MSRP $39.99, cheaper than Taylor, which is 40, 50 some dollars, and 53.99 to all the other ones. It's cheaper, but it's more expensive by $10 than $29.99 Buffalo Trace. Now, Buffalo Trace bourbon has its thing, but it's also, once again, you can't always get it. It's not always there. There's a little bit more than there is of the Taylor, but it's not readily available. Just like Weller Special Reserve should be what regular, but they can't keep it on the shelf. So when they did Traveler, Harlan and Chris Stapleton chose from 50 different blends they came up with, and they felt this was the blend number 40. And so this is called Traveler Whiskey Blend number 40. Okay. It is blended whiskey at, let's see, 750. I'm trying to, I want to say 90 proof, but let me quick get the glasses just to make sure. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but I don't like to be wrong. So it's 90 proof. There's a little stamp right there. Very simple bottle structure. And if you read on the back, it says good whiskey is like good song. It requires no explanation. One taste should tell you everything you need to know. No one has to tell you how to feel about it. You simply settle in and enjoy. For the first of its kind collaboration from Buffalo Trace Distillery, Traveler brings together the collective artistry of Chris Stapleton and master distiller Harlan Wheatley. Blend number 40 is the carefully curated result of countless hours of testing and tasting. It is completely unique combination of whiskeys from an award-winning distillery and exactly what you'd expect. A premium whiskey that speaks for itself. Product proudly blended and bottled at Buffalo Trace Distillery, Frankfort, Kentucky, with Harlan and Chris Stapleton signing it back there. The back of the thing, you've got you got a map of, I believe, Kentucky and the river and whatnot. So it's kind of cool bottle. For a celebrity whiskey, everybody knows that sometimes with celebrity whiskeys, certain things happen or they don't happen, or that type of thing. So I'm gonna say, okay, cheers, Martin. Thanks for commenting. I appreciate you being in here. Rick, thanks for being on. Information Highway is the head. He took 20 minutes answering my question one day. Harlan has an information highway in his head. Yes, Harlan knows whiskey. He's been on the podcast twice. I love it. He's the master distiller there. He was in charge of that expansion, still in charge of expanding and doing a spectacular job. What they're doing there, how they make whiskey there is amazing. They don't talk about it. When you understand what they're doing, there's one thing that they do is Colonel Taylor had steam heat going from a boiler and then heating those warehouses in the wintertime. They still do that. And that, in some cases, some people call rapid aging. But at Buffalo Trace, they don't call it at rapid aging. They just do it. And the amount of years it's in the warehouse is 8 years, and it's in there for 8 years. But their whiskey tastes phenomenally really good because they know what they're doing, based off of how they're heating and cooling those warehouses and keeping track. Now, They've doubled their production, and they're able to build same type material warehouses, monitor everything that's happening in in the original warehouses, and then adjust accordingly in their climate controlled duplicate warehouses. And talking to Harlan about that was very, very cool. So, but Traveler has his name on it. It's a blended whiskey. Instantaneously, when you're talking about blended American whiskeys, or it doesn't even say American. So, because it doesn't say blended American whiskey, everybody assumes there's Canadian whiskey in it. It doesn't matter what's in it. I'm telling you that when I first got this, I enjoyed it. This this is Old Tub, very similar to Old Tub. It's $40 and Old Tub is $20. But Old Tub is single level. You drink it, not a lot of thought. It tastes good, but there's only one level to it. You're not worried about when you drink Old Tub. You're not worried about the nose. You're not worried about the body, and you're not worried about the finish. It's all kind of one thing, and it's just good. Traveler's good, but there's a lot going on. A lot more going on than Old Tub, but the drinkability and its marketplace of what it came out as is is based off of people that listen to Chris Stapleton that aren't maybe not interested in analyzing what they're drinking, except they want it to taste good. But this does have a nose, a body, and a finish that you can, and we're going to go about it again. And what I'm going to say is when I first tasted this, I enjoyed it. So, everybody, because they could get it, and this is a come from, and you people all know my overall, what would you say? Because you all know my overall, it's so funny. I look just like so it's just unbelievable how many what would you say on YouTube lately, how many troll people just making lots of disgusting comments and stuff. It's just funny. Some are held for review, some people are making whatever. I don't Doesn't matter. Just keep watching. Love the majority of the people on there. They come and go, but I will say that getting back to the Traveler whiskey and my generation is what would you say? We want what we can't have. And the first thing, and that's based off of us collectors and us allocated bourbon people. But sometimes we get kind of full of ourselves. And I'll just explain it. We're not really that big of a group when it comes to the whiskey buying public. We do buy up the allocated whiskeys. Uh, and when you're talking about the level of sophistication of we're playing the whiskey game at a higher level, but we're probably 12% of the 12% of the market that is whiskey or bourbon in the United States. So there's a lot of us because we go to lines and we go down to Kentucky and see each other, but we don't really usually get the grand scope of the size of the whiskey market. We think that somehow we're at the top and have importance, and we're telling people what the good whiskeys are. But in reality, whiskey to the general whiskey buying population that buys Jim Beam, has whiskey cokes, does shots, the people who buy Jack Daniels, and it outnumbers us by a lot. What goes on the shelf for Jack Daniels and Jim Beam Black and Jim Beams, all that, and everything going off that, it outsells tenfold by the craft distillery or whatever. A lot of times because it's limited, like you just don't always have the stuff on the shelf, so people can't always buy it. I'm sure the Buffalo Trace collection, if it was always on the shelf, would probably sell more. But what the problem is if we could get it, it would be the same thing that us connoisseurs would do. If you always could get E.H. Taylor every day when you walked in, guess what? You wouldn't be always buying E.H. Taylor. You would be looking at something else and spending your money on something that you can't get. And I've always said that. Now, a lot of people say I'm crazy, but everybody was mad at Buffalo Trace. They keep saying, you're doing this on purpose. You're holding back how much you produce because then it's allocated and then we can't get what we want, so we're always buying it up. This is a marketing ploy. You hear that all the time. So I know talking to Harlan, that's not the case. Everything they make, they put out, they sell, and it sells, and they don't have enough. When you go back and listen to the Harlan Wheatley podcast, he actually refers to them as a mid level craft. They were a craft distillery when he got there, and now they're a mid level. They're not as big as Beam and Heaven Hill and everybody just making. So it comes down to they finally said, well, Sazerac owns all this stuff. They're like, you and Chris Stapleton blend some stuff up that we have a lot of. Do we have a lot of this? Do we have a lot of that? Make a blend and then make it so that we could produce enough. So the first thing that happens is they pick 40, put it on the thing. They do it with Chris Stapleton, and all the reviews are just average. They don't come out. They're like today. I've had that before. Eh, it's okay. Nothing special. It's nothing special because we can get it, folks. That's my honest to God opinion. If I drank that with Harlan Wheatley on the podcast, it would be everything that I wanted it to be. But I blinded it last year, just so you know, 09. And when I put it in a blind, I didn't try to see which blind it was. The blind consisted of E.H. Taylor small batch. It consisted of Traveler, Weller Special Reserve, and Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace came in last place. Weller Special Reserve came in second or third place. And then at the time, I thought I was choosing I wasn't trying to choose which one, but in my brain, I thought Traveler was E.H. Taylor, and I put it first. I switched them around a couple times, and I put it first. Well, it turned out Traveler was what I thought was, and whatever. So Traveler won the blind. I can't tell you guys any more or less than that was a blind. Blinds take away labels, preconceived notions, and goes just by taste. Now, I'm telling you, if I put Taylor down and I put Traveler and I taste them and knowing what I know, I'm picking Taylor every time. But blind, there was nothing I could do about that. And so, it's so I went about it. I was a big fan of it. So the first thing we're going to do, and that brings us to what we're going to do tonight, is I want to talk about while I get ready to barrel bang this at the old Louisville Whiskey Company's barrel banging segment. I never turned on. Let's turn this on. Let's go right there. And did I take it off of the barrel banging? No, I didn't. That's just because I'm dumb. And I believe the Facebook is overlapping. Okay, so let's get that back in there. All right. That's probably where it needs to go. I don't know how I'm on delay of the actual. Wait a second. How can I actually be on delay from my meeting? Am I on Facebook here? Yeah, okay, I was on Facebook. All right, there it is. The old Louisville Whiskey Company, Amin down there in Louisville, Kentucky. you got to go check out the Old Louisville Whiskey Company. When you go there, Amin will give you an experience unlike none other. Uh, he has a great palate. He's winning awards for his whiskey. The 17-year-old 140 proof that he put out last year is just out of this world. He's basically obtained all these different barrels. He's not specific to any company. They're all different things, and he finishes them in all creative ways. French oak. He takes some and he just ages, buys it at 12, lets it sit for 5 more years. I mean, what Amin's doing there is kind of special. Old Louisville Whiskey Company. If you guys are down there, check out Amin, and also mention that you heard about it on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. So that brings us to the Traveler. Now we're gonna barrel bang this, which is exciting. Our barrel banging rating system has evolved, but it consists of nose, body, taste, and finish. You can get 4 points or 4 bangs, and a bang is some people can hear it, some people can't, but you get 4 bangs for the nose, 4 bangs for the body. You could get up to 5 bangs for the taste and 5 bangs for the finish. But in the end, if something's exceptional, it could get a butt up, and you could either give one category and one category only, even though I broke the rule a couple times, you can give it a butt up. So with that said, we'll bring on this. Now, I have some information on this. This was very fair. I thought it was breaking bourbon last year. Classification, it's blended whiskey. Company, Sazerac Company Incorporated. Distillery, undisclosed Sazerac Distilleries. Release, ongoing. It's ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. It aged, non-aged statement, straight whiskey components in the blend aged at least 4 years per TTB regulations of being the whiskey blend. So everything in here is at least 4 years. Mash bill, undisclosed. Again, color, light gold. I completely agree with it. It almost looks like I'm having a Miller. High life, not a light. And oh God, what just happened? Let's go back there. All right. It's $39.99. Very reasonably priced, especially for whiskey. Did not go up last year. Was released in January. It is now January. Other batches. Now, Harlan Wheatley they don't give out sales information at all. But initially, they had it. He talked about SKUs, and everybody had enough SKUs. And when they wanted more, they could supply them with more. So when it first came out, it was going for more than $40. Some people were asking $125, $100. And then all of a sudden the SKUs started coming out. Everybody was getting cases. There was enough. It was obvious. And that's when the bad reviews started coming in. Now, when it comes to this, here it goes. Traveler Whiskey was first. This is allbreakingbourbon.com. I love what they do there, and I'm give them credit for this because there's a lot of information. I gave my information, and I like to give theirs. And thanks, Randy, for going to YouTube. Traveler Whiskey was first released in January of 2024. We're in February of 2025, and is an ongoing release. It is a collaboration between Buffalo Trace Distiller, Master Distiller Harlan Wheatley, and Grammy-winning singer, songwriter, and musician Chris Stapleton. Wheatley eloquently summarizes the collaboration when making art, and we really do think that both Chris's music and the whiskey we make at Buffalo Trace is art. You experiment, test, adjust, and don't give up until you got it right. That's why I experimented with more than 50 blends, probably with Drew down there, before agreeing that blend number 40 would be for Traveler. Traveler whiskey is a blended whiskey, which by legal definition is whiskey produced by blending not less than 20% on a proof gallon basis, excluding alcohol derived and added harmless coloring, flavoring, or blending materials. straight whiskey or a blend of straight whiskeys, and separate or in a combination whiskey of any type of neutral spirits. However, Sazerac has confirmed that the current blend contains 0% grain neutral spirits, while while the specific Sazerac owned distilleries that are components within this blend did whiskey originate from are not readily disclosed. Sazerac has confirmed it is completely unique combination of whiskeys, hand selected from multiple distilleries. It is also the first celebrity collaboration whiskey from Buffalo Trace, though Wheatley and Stapleton are each noted on the label as co-founder on the label. The whiskey is widely distributed and is expected to be readily available. It was readily available. Now, I'm not going to get into what they critique. I'm going to critique it now with the nose, the palate, the finish, and they go nose, palate, and finish. I go nose, body, and finish in this glass. When it comes, I can smell it. It definitely has a strong odor, and in this glass, when you do it, you look at it and you get the viscosity's really nice, and the legs are long and run back down. And this is definitely something that tells you that this was a well distilled whiskey. So, the one thing about with Chris Stapleton and the popularity of this brand is his fans. So, some of the other brands that are out there that I would say Rebel Yell, Rebel. There's certain brands of whiskey that go good with country music, rock and roll, whatnot. What this does is the one thing that I pick up a ton of is there's some fruit notes, but it's like a pear. It's very sweet. It's not it's more like a combination of a Scotch and an Irish whiskey, or there's a lightness to it. So what they say on the nose, the whiskey is light on the nose. There's some fruity warmth reminiscent of green apple or grape. I get some pear, along with the hintness of sweetness. There isn't any individual scent that stands out, but all the sweetness stands out on the nose. It is a very, very nice, pleasant nose. But overall, the composition is a bit unfamiliar, not falling into typical bourbon or rye, even light whiskey territory. It's very light. And while not off-putting in any way, it's also not memorable and just simply lacks presence. I disagree. The honey note of the sweetness on this is memorable. Ever since I had it, it smells and tastes like I remember. So I disagree with, and that's just fine that I want to do that. Now, I am going to, hey Hawk, what's up? I gotta get back over here and get my comments up. I don't know why I can't have my comments up. Okay. Hey Patrick, just wish it was a tad higher proof. 90 is okay for those just kidding. Let's see. I'm sipping on, okay, Martin's sipping on some 4-gate. But okay, so the nose, there you go with the nose. Like I said, it's got decent honey. Now the palate is better. It's I mean, look at the legs that happen in there. It's spectacular. And there's a little bit of apple, honey. This is what the palate breathes some life into the whiskey, most notably due to its yet light yet smooth, almost creamy mouthfeel. There is a hug on this, which is sure to find fans. Light oak, maple sugar candy, a touch of sweet corn. Okay, I'll give you that. A little hint of caramel and a buttercream make for a dessert synergy flavors. I pick up honey. So, but I will say I just got like on the finish a little bit Kellogg's Corn Pops. So at 90 proof, it's not an 80 proof, nice body. It actually covers the sweetness to your cheeks. Fantastic body. Now, taste. We covered that. I'm just gonna say the finish is probably there's some, but it's quick. And that is one where I always find when you're talking about a whiskey that's aged at least 4 years, it's probably got some other stuff in it. Some people talk about this being similar to Canadian whiskey. I don't get it. There's no Canadian club in here. There's no crown. It doesn't have any of that. If there's anything that's similar to it, is the drinkability of Crown is very similar to the Traveler. It's drinkable, but it's not taste wise anything like it. So there you go. That's what it is. Now they go into uniqueness. Traveler whiskey may seem simple on the surface, but it's anything but. It's the first celebrity collaboration where Buffalo Trace has attached its name to, and Harlan's, its blended whiskey, and Wheatley and Stapleton are identified on the bottle as co-founders. First and foremost, the flavor profile is unfamiliar, arguably sweet to a fault, but will likely satisfy casual. So they created this 100%. I agree. He goes on and to more diehard. He said if Sazerac wanted to appeal to more diehard whiskey drinkers with this, they would have been more forthcoming about what makes up the blend. He's full of crap on that because Buffalo Trace isn't forthcoming of anything. Okay, it's a wheat. They're wheated. It's got a wheat mash bill. They are not transparent, and they shouldn't be transparent because they're allowed to have secrets of how they do things to come up that they don't want to just make it easy for anybody to copy or whatnot. So what I'm saying is also Sazerac wasn't interested as much, and neither was Buffalo Trace. And this is more towards the whiskey drinking connoisseur as getting them that I would put this on a 90 proof Basil Hayden's level at but at 90 proof and with unique flavors of whiskey. So let's go, and I'm going to barrel bang it, and then maybe I'll go back and see what I barrel banged it last year because I did two podcasts. First, I did the podcast on it, and then after that, I did the blind podcast, and both podcasts were very successful. They should be successful. Chris Stapleton's this is something that has been readily available ever since. It's outsold even the expectations of Buffalo Trace as far as moving the volume. It's done very well. And then we'll get into that a little bit after I'm done barrel banging the Old Louisville Whiskey Company segment of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And let's go. So the nose out of 4, I enjoy this nose. I would say it's a little simple, so I'm giving the nose a 3. 3 barrel bangs. Now, body for a 90 proof whiskey, the whole thing coats your mouth. It's everywhere. The sweetness is everywhere. It hits your cheeks, under your tongue, everything. So I give the body and what's happening in the viscosity of this glass was phenomenal. So Harlan, fantastic job on that. The body's a 4. All right. So now the taste. Let's go to the taste. I'm sitting here at 7 of 8. The taste could go to a 5. I really, really love this taste of this whiskey. I think A lot of tastes for it to be 5, it's gotta be a little bit more complex, but the taste is really good. And when it comes to if I was gonna go to a concert and I wanted to drink whiskey in my flask, I'm picking Traveler to go in my flask. Um, if I'm going to a football game of the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, I'm probably gonna pick something even more special for the victory. But beforehand, I could be drinking some Traveler beforehand, at the tailgate party beforehand. The victory pour isn't going to be Traveler because one, you like to have victory pours as something really special, and with Traveler, they didn't make it really special. And that is part of what we're talking about here. They made it readily available to everybody. So this isn't special. This isn't something you go out and then you drink 10 years later on the, when your son's born, and then 10 years on his 10-year, or you save this bottle for him when it'll just be there when you get there. So you don't have to save any special bottles or anything with this. That's why people kind of rip on this brand, and because they could get it. And honestly, every single time, in my opinion, if we can have something, we don't want it. If they did this with Buffalo Trace, if they all of a sudden it was there every day, people would stop buying it. If they did it with Weller Special Reserve, people would stop buying it. It's just like whatever you do, whatever you make it so we can't having it. I mean, Knob Creek's there readily available and it's there, but it's not like everybody's dying for Knob Creek. It's there. You can pick it up. You might want their single barrels and everything. And Knob Creek's a really, really good small batch. Out of all the small batches I've ever had, it's one of the best. But what I'm saying is, travelers, I would drink this before I drink a regular Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig small batch. This is better. I will tell you, $40. Those are in the mid 30s, but 39.99. This is fine. Now, so for taste, I have to give this. I can't. There's no way it's a 5, and it's between a 3 and a 4. And 90 proof, great body, honey, maple. It goes to 4. I just like it. So 4 out of 5 there. So right now, out of 13, it's an 11. So here's where this falls short of great whiskeys and bourbons that you're paying a lot and you can't get. They always have been aged a little bit longer than this, and they've got the I think, in my opinion, the all right. I don't know what's going on there, but in my opinion, Jolie's talking about it in the Witch Caught and says it's a music festival, and it's supposed to. Who the hell, while they're sitting there drinking at a music festival, listening to music, wants to think about how that it finishes up? You might down the line think that, hey, that was kind of cool. It's still I could still taste it, but honestly, the finish is quick and fast, and I think it's by far the weakest part of it. So I got to give it a 3 out of 5. So if that puts us at out of 13, so I gave this a 14 of 18. But for $40 to be getting a 14 of 18, in my opinion, so let's just review the math so I don't do dumb drunk math. But a 14, so I'm thinking 3 plus 3 for the body, 4 for the taste, 7, and then 3 for the nose is 10, and the body I gave a 5. So maybe I gave it 50. Okay, wait, a 4 for the body. I'm gonna help me out on that one. Anybody that was adding up, that would be good. I gave the 5 and the 3, which was 8. No, I gave a A 4, yes, a 4. So, yeah, you can't give the body a 5. So it was a 4. So I gave exactly what I said I gave it, a 14 out of 18. So once again, I love Traveler. I just want to quickly talk about honestly the whiskey market and what us connoisseurs think and what it actually is, because what is it to the distiller? Distillery produces whiskey to sell it. There's no doubt about it. And the really, really good stuff, you can only make a certain amount, and it's very costly to make it. The goal of a distillery for success is to be able to make really good, readily available whiskey to the general drinking whiskey public, where not only do the connoisseurs like it, but the general whiskey drinking public. Um, this is something that 100% you can drink neat. There's no doubt. I enjoy this immensely. And then I'm drinking top shelf at a music festival. Yeah, cheers. That's great. Yeah, I think this. Yeah, this is something. The name, the whole concept. I mean, the fact that Harlan Wheatley has this on a bottle as his first whiskey that he ever put his name on, I think you got to respect that, right? So there's no doubt. So getting the 14 and the 18 on the old Louisville Whiskey Company barrel banging segment, 14 bangs out of 18, that covers that. I'm gonna sip up a little bit of this right here, and then we're gonna go to um the aspect of what I want to do. Now, what's really cool is I have my really cool rocks glass tonight, folks. And in it, you can spin it. It's got a little ball on the bottom, and it's my favorite one. My mother-in-law gave me this, and I got a big round ice cube in there, and you spin it. So one of the cool things is, as like, if you really want to do it, and I'm gonna try. Let's do this, and maybe make a reel of it. But here we go. Got some Traveler right here, and as you spin it, pour as you spin. There you go. Oh, maybe see. Nice in the glass. Now that's in a rocks glass on some ice. So let's talk about this. This drinkability. I don't like to always put higher end bourbons or whatever. I like to put some of the higher proofs on ice after I've sampled them. And it's really good for extending out the night. If you're going to be, if you sip a couple Glens, that's it. But if you put a couple on the rocks, you can go a little bit longer. Thanks, John. I like this glass. Thank you, my mother-in-law. Spin it again. There you go. Yeah, Randy Ford says it's smooth. Randy, we like to say easy. Just remember that. That's the key to all whiskey. This is easy. It's very easy. There's no doubt. You put it on. So I put this on ice. The ice cubes melted, and there's a little bit of water in here. Probably proof this down. And usually when I put like a barrel strength on it, I take a 120 and it'll proof it down to maybe 100. But this probably went from 90 to 75. But I'm telling you what it did. It's cold, very refreshing, but I'm picking up a ton of pineapple. I mean, but there's on ice, if you're an average drinker, or you're even you're a little bit not completely in, this is going to take this to a different level, and this is really fantastic. I mean, I think women just getting into whiskey, people just getting into whiskey, once again, like the Basil Hayden, it's Basil Hayden's 80, this is 90. but the drinkability of it is kind of really, what would you say? For 90 and 80, it says more flavor. A lot of times people that drink Basil Hayden are like, I can't taste it. You definitely can taste Traveler. So once again, if after I'm done here and I start loading, I'm probably going to play some Chris Stapleton and sip some whiskey. Plus, once again, 90 proof can have a little bit more, and and you got a little bit more control over how fast the whiskey tastes take effect. That it will take effect. Sipping on Town Branch True Dark 113.9. That's good, Thomas. We won't. That I approve of that. Uh, cheers. Anyways, so I guess we've covered that, but once again, let's just review. The market that I'm talking about makes up 80% of the whiskey market, maybe even 85% of it. The connoisseurs probably make up 12%. And people like myself who are the whiskey influencers or the whiskey critics, we're probably 0.05%. there's we're out there, and there's people on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but it's in the hundreds. And the people who like Traveler is definitely in the millions. This is a whiskey that's for everybody. I don't, everybody who, there's a lot of people and reviews I read, because they could, in my opinion, because it was readily available, Buffalo Trace did the experiment, and all they were ever doing is being ripped on. You're holding stuff back. You don't have enough. I want to walk into the store and have something that's readily available. I want a bourbon or a wheat bourbon that I can just walk in. I don't want to wait in line. I don't want to do this. A lot of complaining and complaining. They gave them Traveler. And the first thing they said was, I can get it, so it must be crap. And that is the attitude of that 12% of the bourbon market, that why they think whiskey's good and what makes whiskey taste better to them is the chase and the acquiring of the whiskey. Now, I will tell you, 100%, I've drank whiskey with a lot of different people, and master distillers, people in the industry, uh, Stephen Fonte, Bernie Lubbers. And when you're doing it and you're having an experience and you're, with Stephen Fonte, you smoked a cigar with him. He went through and did a tasting. Now you're sitting at Limestone Branch out on their wonderful patio that they've expanded to, and you're sitting there with Stephen, and you got Limestone Branch single barrel. That's whatever. I'm telling you, your taste buds go up, and you're there, and the experience has so much to do with whiskey. Uh, and once again, when you're talking about these high-end acquire special bottles, when you're talking about drinking a bottle of whiskey on the day your son's born with your best friends, there's nothing like it. That's what whiskey's part of, that relaxation and everything. And your taste buds go to a level that you're drinking and you know what you're drinking, and you love it because you know you're going to love it. But that doesn't mean, on essence, on the everyday, that when you're just drinking it and you're not drinking it for a special occasion and you're actually analyzing it on a level, I mean, good bourbon's good bourbon, but it's probably not as good as those experiences, because that's just the way it works. So, Traveler, I could tell you, would be a lot better, and it's good to me, but it probably would go to 14 of 18 to 16 of 18 if I'm drinking it with Harlan or I'm drinking it with Chris Stapleton. And that's one of the things that I want to say is I'd love to be able to get, like, that's the next level for the podcast. The podcast is getting so many views on Facebook and YouTube and everybody, and we're getting consistent followers. I appreciate Thomas Anderson, Randy Ford, Walker. Uh, we got John Ritt. There's all of the people that follow weekly and tell everybody about what's happening, and I really appreciate everything. Hopefully, we could take this to the next level. That we pull on. I know that Harlan will do another podcast coming up, but it would be cool to do one with Chris Stapleton. Or we pulled in, thank you, Randy Ford, Sweetens Cove 22, to be able to do something with, you know, uh, Colton Manning, I believe his name is, their third brother, and have him on, or Peyton Manning, it doesn't matter, whatever. That's the next level for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. But know that no matter what, we're not in this to tell people stuff's bad or whatever. If we're reviewing it, chances are this is a good product, except for if I'm reviewing a rye with another person on this podcast, because CT likes some ryes that I don't like, and same thing, Nash likes some ryes that I don't like. So overall, let's spin that baby. Overall, that's what it's all about for us. So I think great podcast tonight. I am going to end the audio real quick. Still cannot run Little Steve-O uh, uh, Alabama song that he redid because I'm in a dispute with YouTube and BMG Records, who made claims somehow that his remake was their right. I just disputed it to see what happens. If it doesn't happen, if I win the dispute, Little Steve-O's Alabama song will come on. But if I don't, I'm going to have to do the same thing that I do. I'm just going to replay the Scotchy Bourbon Boys theme song, off of what we got here. And so I'm going to finish up right now. Remember, everybody, thank you for listening, watching. Thanks, Super Nash, for coming on. Really appreciated it. Super Nash is drinking or smoking a Rocky Patel premium cigar. I'm probably, for saying that, going to get slapped by YouTube too, because this is just how it goes. When you start to make a little bit of money, and they just slap you till you make no more money. But I will say, remember, thanks everybody for coming on. www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. All our information, Glenn's t-shirts. Contact me for faster results. If you go through the website, it takes a little longer, but if you want Glenn or a t-shirt, thanks so much to Sarah Evans for becoming our newest member of the Crystal Glen Club. We will be I'm putting that together, a meetings hopefully sometime in June to come up with a special dinner and tasting that we're going to put on for everybody in the Crystal Glen Club. Right now, the Crystal Glen Club is 17. We have one left, and it is available. And I can go into it. Consists of, for $425. It consists of 3 of our barrel picks, from the Spirit of French Lick, a T-shirt, a Crystal Glen, and a regular Glen for $425. That is available. Other than that, this year we've only released 2, and that took us up to 18 members. The founding members of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys all have one, and then really, really good friends that have appeared multiple times on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Greg Schneider, Alan Bishop, Aaron Harris all have their Crystal Glens. And we are going to try and get whoever can come up for those meetings, including, but last year, Patrick Finnegan, Patrick Taylor, and Nathaniel Malejo, and then now Sarah Evans are all part of that. And it's a exclusive club every year. And anytime we do a barrel pick, uh, if we do not have enough members to go, we will invite the members of the Crystal Glencairn Club first to be able to come to the barrel pick. And then after that, members. But overall, the other aspect of it is that once we do a barrel pick, the Crystal Glen members get the first dibs on the barrel pick and how many they want. So going forward, that is a great club, and it'll be coming up. And then also remember to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. Hopefully TikTok soon, and then all the major podcast formats: Apple, iHeart, Spotify. If whatever we're there, you listen to. Oh wow, what is that? I don't even know how that popped up. Oh, that's how Martin Randy's watching. Okay, and then also we're on all the major podcast formats. But no matter how you listen or watch, make sure you comment. Oh my God! Make sure you. How am I having? Make sure whatever you can do, you do, which would be subscribe, comment, leave good feedback, and listen, subscribe, comment, and leave good feedback. Thank you. It's just like, well, how that crap at 60 goes out of my brain, it's really kind of dumb. But seriously, Randy, you sent that's cool. But remember, drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. How am I screwing this up? Comment and subscribe. John helps me. And then, okay, let's try it. Good bourbon equals good times and good friends. Make sure you drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Obviously, I've not been drinking responsibly tonight. And make sure you live your life uncut and unfiltered. And we'll have Kenny Fuller take us out with the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Taking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We've been a little while, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do with drinking every brew, and it's all songs. Love to tell the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Raising my hand, making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun. I hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun. All right. Hey, John, did I actually say live your life uncut and unfiltered? Or did I miss that one? Because, man, did I screw up the, the end of that. And thank you, Randy, for that. We'll have to work on getting that to you when I head down on my way down to Florida. I'll bring that stuff down. Welcome to the Crystal Glencairn Club. Now I get a pair. I got the pair since it's been open a while. Yeah. I did it this year that you not only did you get that, but our first barrel pick of William Dalton that is in there. Now, Sarah was able to grab the 4, which was I did release one of the last 3 uh, Knob Creek that picks that was left from our initial Knob Creek pick. And that one is spectacular. I only got 2 left, so I'll probably at one point open that and share it with people, and then just keep the one as far as remembrance that we did the pick. So, I mean, our picks are popular, and this last time I picked and got a lot. And I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't move, but I will say that uh, I got enough. So if anybody wants more, we got a shot. And then John, Traveler makes a fun mixer, steady and solid. Well, it makes a good mixer, but it makes a really good. It's really good on the rocks. It's good as far as a sipper. It just works everywhere for me. I just don't like the uh, bad. What would you say? Are you the hawk to a girl? Jesus God. Um, I just don't like the bad vibe that Traveler gets because you can get it. That's not a fair thing. It just really isn't. There's a lot of good bourbons that Fred Minnick has gone over many times that are $20. People don't want it because it's $20 and you can get it all the time. Makes a fun mixer, steady and solid. Yeah, the pear on the nose on the Traveler is what I was referring to. No, I can compare since it's been open a while. Yeah, mine has been open, Randy, as far as a pear on the nose. I get that because mine's been open since last year. I'm definitely was debating whether I was gonna go just get a new bottle to see the difference. Different This is batching again because of the popularity. There's no reason why this shouldn't just stay out there. Now, one of the now I'm going to tell you, Long Branch, is that still available as far as the Matthew McConaughey thing? Is that still going out there? Hey, good night. Thanks for joining. I'm glad that you were able to make some of it. Um, did you finish up on that fire extinguisher job that you had to do tonight? That's the question. I mean, not only did they have to did they screw up the vent or the system, but did they use other fire extinguishers too that you had to replace? Randy, yes. I mean the pair's there, but I really think that it would have been cool. I mean, I like this whiskey. There's no doubt. And uh so let's see. Are you the hot contour girl? All right. Yeah. Once again, I was hoping. So I will say next week I will be putting on, I'm not sure. Next week we already did Middle West. So next week we will be doing our other will be doing Whiskey Thief, hopefully Tuesday, but it could be Thursday if I can get a hold of Walter to have either Derek or himself on talking about Whiskey Thief. That's the goal. But it's been really hard to get a hold of Walter, and I will try a little bit harder as we go. This weekend I'll be a little bit quiet because I'm headed to Wisconsin for my cousin Brent's funeral. We talked about this. My cousin, I'm sorry, but I'll be there and I will be back in time for the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a full out blast through, not as a fun time, but a blast as far as driving. I'm going to be leaving about 3 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, tomorrow night. and I'll be dressed for a funeral when I leave, and I'll get there, do the funeral from 9:30 to 12:30, and then once that's over with, I'll head up to Milwaukee area, see my mother-in-law, spend the night at my mother-in-law's, and then stop off and see a good friend. They've got some things going on, and then head back to Wisconsin or Ohio from Wisconsin, and hopefully I figure I got to be on the road about 11. If I'm on the road by 11, 10:30, 11, that'll put me right back in time for if I'm on the road by 10:30 on Sunday, I'll be back in time for the Super Bowl at 6:30. But got to place my DraftKings bets because they don't allow that in Wisconsin. So I'll place them in Ohio before I leave. Not looking forward to it, but I think I'm going to bring a really good bourbon so that I can share with anybody who wants to share it with me because my cousin was my friend. Didn't see him a lot at the end when he was suffering in Maine, but overall, cheers. But so that's what my weekend is looking for. What does everybody think? Who's going to be winning the Super Bowl now? Some people like the Eagles. I will have to say after today and hearing who's going to be there and how the Chiefs reacted to that and what Philly's reaction to it. I'm a Chiefs fan, so we'll see what happens. But yes, thank you, John. Um, yes, that was Randy, 100%, and I'll get that to you. Um, Welcome to the club. And I really look forward to it because every time we have a tasting dinner, up here in Ohio, I'm sure with your whiskey prowess, I'll be counting on you to bring some really good shit up and we'll have a good time. Thanks for coming to the Christmas party too. It was great to have you up here. And I look forward to everything that's going to be happening. All right. I'm going to take us off YouTube real quick. We'll see what happens there. I got to get this stuff up and loaded to the internet. I know Facebook tonight seemed to be pretty good. And we will go from there. All right. Thanks for coming on, everybody on YouTube, and decent amount of likes, that's for sure. All right. Next Tuesday, it'll be either Johnny Walker or Whiskey Thief. Look forward to seeing you guys. All right. Thanks for watching.